Alright guys, this is a part 2 because we got interrupted in the middle of the last video. I'm starting off right here in the same match that we got cut off about halfway through, had to restart it. Um, yeah, someone came to my door, salesperson. But if you've not seen part 1 yet, go back and watch that. Otherwise you might be a little lost and miss out on stuff, and then come right back here and finish this. But anyway, as I was saying before, I was using the 10-point cost guys to kill the 50-point cost guys, which gave me a huge money advantage. Seems to be running a lot more speed. And then that allowed me to get out the first Giga Cannon and push forward with that and my cyber wheels to start damaging his harvester. Moved up a little bit, took out the harvester, and made up for the loss of the Giga Cannon so I could rebuild it, slow down his harvesting. His other harvester's not even able to make money, and I was able to fall back and get the first missile. Now I'm going to slow this down because I don't remember what happened after this point. I'm dealing with both harvesters again with another Giga Cannon. I managed to get out some Chem Troopers. Now, what I could have done if he kept going heavy infantry, I could build a second Chem Trooper and then push them both forward to his base and blown up his base and ended it right there. But he went for vehicles, and I was about to win anyway, so I just Catalyst Missile and blew up anything that was coming out of the middle. But anyway, basic build there. You see the potential it has. Or if he had gone for air, I could have gone for the Phantoms, push back, got the second missile, or push toward the base from there. Now, back to favorites. That should be it for Nod. Moving on to the 3 GDI armies that I've got. I've got a 2 Harvester build, which I'm going to show here first. Because, like I said, 2 Harvesters is a lot more viable in the current meta than what it used to be. I didn't go over the army beforehand, but I still have early game with this group, but it's focused on getting out 2 Harvesters so that I can pump out some more expense. I start off with vehicles. I think I actually screwed up on this one. Yeah, I screwed up and built my barracks first. But normally I would start with my vehicles, get my scout out there, and that definitely put me behind. So I'm at a huge disadvantage. But normally on this one I start with vehicles. I could do some scouting, deal with his infantry, pit bulls, deal with his vehicles, and harass his harvesters, then build up to the infantry. And I've got, infantry disruptors for heavy anti-infantry, jetpack troopers for heavy anti-tank. I'm already doing pit bulls for anti-air all over the place. A lot of harassment of the harvesters because I can have harassment for the pit bulls and the jump jet troopers. I could pump out some tanks if he goes for heavy tanks, or I could stick with just like pit bull spamming. And then when I get out the second harvester, usually you want to wait for the first missile to get out that second harvester, or when you know he's not pushing in on you. See, I had stuff on me and I was behind. I needed to get out some early game stuff and was trying to make sure that he didn't get that first missile. And then I think I went for my second harvester. But if he had fell back and been more defensive, and I could have got that second harvester out right away, and then I could pump out a lot more expensive stuff, do a lot more harassment, pushment toward him of tanks in this case, because they could attack and move. Pit bulls could attack and move. A lot of attacking and moving vehicles, while I've got fast-moving infantry. And then the slow-moving stuff like the disruptors would have been to deal with this. But he's pumping out disruptors, so I'm just kind of holding him off with pit bulls, and he still managed to get the first missile, though. I finally built my tank, and at this point, I'm like, he's got the missile. I gotta get a harvester, so I think I got one soon. Any second now? Oh, I was waiting for the money. That's right. That was my correct. Okay. I'm harassing his harvester, nonetheless. Pushing forward with the tanks. Trying to push forward with zone troopers. I thought he had 2 harvesters because I saw his harvester on the bottom right, so I brought the zone troopers in and the tank. And then when I noticed he only had 1, I brought the zone troopers down. So by keeping the pressure on him on his side of the map, I moved the tank down. He built again very good. He's doing really well in this. If I had been a little bit faster, if I had not screwed up at the beginning, I think I would have got that first missile. This would have been a very easy win. But because I got my 2 harvesters now, I can pump out some of my big stuff. And this air unit is very good at destroying a base. A tank could do decent damage to a base and will do good at harvester harassment. Pitbull could do good at harvester harassment. My jetpack troopers could do decent damage to a base over time. And then my ion cannon can not only clear a field, but it can do good damage to a base. So that's the whole point. I'm using my ion cannon and this ship. If I choose to at any point, I can go blow up his base. But I've already lost the first missile because I screwed up in the beginning. So I got to make sure he doesn't get this missile or I've lost. So I'm not worried about the base at the moment. I'm just worried about the missile. And I get that missile, and then it's like, yes, all right. Now, even though the third missile comes real quickly, I can go all in on his base. And then fall back if I need to. But he also has, I believe he pumps out a lot of pit bulls. So I end up kind of taking my time and inching forward to not get overwhelmed by too many of his units and then have him turn around and get the missile and beat me before I could do anything. But yeah, there you go. You see me ion cannoning his base as well. So it's already down by one, and I haven't even hit it with one of my units yet because they've been too busy fighting his pitbull spam. I get 2 of them because 2 of those is practically unstoppable, but I only have level 9. And again, he doesn't seem to have anything other than pitbulls, and they're good against pitbulls as well. So as long as I inch forward, eventually I should be able to make it to his base and blow it up, is my thought. And I'm just going at regular speed right now. It's not too fast. So I got that third one. Trying to... Yep, there we go. There goes his base. So I didn't do so great with that. A lot of times I might get out that second harvester before the first missile with this army. But I could definitely wait until the first missile. Once that first missile goes, I need to build that second harvester. That's a good way to do a second harvester build. If he's not being aggressive, build one early on if you're not going to be aggressive. Anyway, but like I said, I've got a whole build based around it. But even... favorites. The wrong screen. But yeah, even though this is a 2 harvester build, you can see I still have my cheap early game stuff with pit bulls, dogs... and they've got some medium game stuff with tanks, jetpack troopers for, dealing with vehicles and pushing forward on his harvesters, and then the zone troopers. Really, the only late game thing I have here is my tech lab with that one unit. I mean, he's got a late game over 2, but he only got, I think, 1 harvester, and I was harassing him enough. He was not able to get out his late game stuff. I didn't get to play that very well, I don't think. But normally what I do with this deck is I get out the vehicles very early on, and I can try to win the first missile with them, and then potentially go straight to the air unit, send 2 of them, win right away. Sometimes if I'm having problems getting the missile, I'll pop out the infantry. If he's got lots of infantry, I got the disruptors. If he's got lots of vehicles that are good against vehicles, like tanks, I can pop out the jetpack troopers. And I can even win with the jetpack troopers. Sometimes I'll have 2 jetpack troopers, one go to the top of his base, one the bottom, ion cannon his base, and then by the time he kills him, I can ion cannon it again, and it's over. But money is definitely an issue with that. This here is another army I've got. This is a 1 harvester build. So I got the 2 harvester for GDI and the 1 harvester, because again, the meta's changed. It used to always be 1 harvester. Very rarely could you do 2. Now 2 is a lot more viable. 1's actually a lot harder to do now, but I still prefer it. And let me start off with ×4, speed this up at the beginning. Alright, then go to ×2. But yeah, we're dancing around with our infantry, and I get a little head start there. He goes for a Kim. I go for a bomber to deal with the Kim. End up going after the harvester since he's not. Get a little air unit, try to make sure I could get rid of his infantry for the missile. Trying to keep my air unit alive, but I failed miserably. He's using his powers. I'm trying to get some more air harassment in there. Managed to get his harvester. See, that's the thing with this army. I've got my infantry early game. I've got air right away, which involves stuff to deal with air and infantry as well as vehicles. So I've got really quick, powerful harvester harassment with that hit and run. And then that gave me enough money to get out my tech. So one harvester, boom, I've already got tech to deal with all of his like flamers and big infantry. And we've got one that's good against air and vehicles, and another one that's the artillery disruptor for infantry. But the disruptor, if I could get it into the enemy base, or close enough to shoot at the enemy base, it only takes like 2 or 3 shots from that disruptor to completely destroy the enemy base. So that first disruptor, I tried to get it, didn't quite make it over there. He did a good job defending it. This second disruptor, I believe, actually makes it over there and blows up the base completely on its own. See? Oh, it didn't. Maybe I did a third. I thought I blew it up with a disruptor. Okay, so at this point I'm focused on the missile because I don't want him to get another missile and actually win the game. I guess I won with the missile, not a disruptor. Oh, that was my first missile. I couldn't tell because my little icon was over it. Okay. So he got the first missile. I was in trouble. I almost blew up a missile's worth of his base, but he stopped me. Then I got the second missile. Now we're on for the third, but I get my disruptor close enough so where it doesn't even matter, and I blow up his base. Right? Because I do remember... Yeah, there we go. So like I said, the disruptor, if you could surprise him with it, sneak it in along the bottom or the top, and he doesn't defend from it, that could very quickly do a whole missile's worth on its own. Not to mention just holding one back can allow you to deal with all those late game heavy infantry, you know, cyborgs, zone troopers, and then I've got the sandstorm to deal with vehicles in air. The only thing I'm going to have problems with is like mammoths, avatars, and that walker that's anti-vehicle that belongs to GDI. I forget the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Alright, so last army for GDI. And this one is the one I'm probably most proud of. It was not viable at all unless you just completely crushed the guy right away. With the last meta, a lot of people tried these, but they failed to the one harvester build because the one harvester build could defend them and then push them back and win. Mostly because you can't continue with it. It's essentially a rush deck. You rush, and normally with the old meta, if the rush failed, you lost, or you're in real trouble because you can't do anything for a while. Then you got to build a harvester, you know, and then you can't do anything for a little while. Where you get your money and start pumping out your troops again. You know, so if he builds a harvester and defends his harvester, you've lost practically. If he builds his harvester and you get his harvester, then you can just rebuild it for free, and you know you've got enough to you've evened up the game. So you might have more units than him if you're lucky, but it's more like an even match at that point. So this was not a viable build before, but it's a viable build now. And what this is a no harvester build for GDI. My leader power is cheap. All of my units are cheap. And I'm just spamming stuff, really. And I've got 2 infantry, 2 vehicles, and 2 air units. And what I do right away, instead of building a harvester, I build a barracks and a war factory. So I get a scout, but this scout is the war dog. So if he builds riflemen or zone troopers, he's in trouble. But then I build a rocket squad. Now, he builds a cyber wheel, you know, so he's got a good counter for me, but he's going to be expecting vehicles because he sees a war factory. He's not going to be expecting infantry. So I build a second, and him building a second cyber wheel was actually a bad idea because had I built, you know, a pit bull next, cyber wheel wouldn't have done anything to that pit bull. But he manages to see my rocket squads, good for him. But because I took out his cyber wheels, I now can attack his flamers and block off his flamers with my little dog troops. I've got some riflemen there thinking he might have gone to stuff, but he's pumping out more cyber wheels. But I managed to get his harvester, so that gives me a nice money buff. And now I could just keep pumping stuff out. Now, if he had defended that harvester, it wouldn't matter. I could have still kept pumping out cyber wheels for infantry, rocket squads for vehicles, you know, riflemen for infantry or dogs for infantry, pit bulls and rocket squads for vehicles, all really cheap. But because I killed that harvester, I had a huge influx of money, so I'm able to go a little bit higher on the pit bulls than I normally would, and eventually build my airfield. And he's got a lot of early game units. There's stuff going on everywhere. I'm not doing the best I could be. I'm doing horrible on this in a lot of ways. But, I'm countering his rocket squads with basic riflemen, just really cheap riflemen. I'm countering cyber wheels and tanks with rocket squads. I'm using those pit bulls. They're not like war harvesters, giving me more money. I got like 200 Tiberium now. I got plenty of money at this point. But this deck is not designed to have plenty of money. It is designed to run off of no money. But I'm just trashing him. I'm not only already got the first missile, but I've got people at every point, and that's the thing. I've got so many more units than him because I don't build a harvester. And now look, I'm able to pump out an air unit because of all the money I got from the harvesters. That will trash his tanks. That could trash his harvester, trash his cyber wheels. Bring more pit bulls to trash the air that he would bring out to counter it. He doesn't build air to counter it. So I'm really not too worried. But I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have stayed on top of that next to the rocket squad. I should have moved it down into the bottom so the rocket squad would have to go around the flamers. I'd be able to have killed the tank, got the missile. I would have done so much. But instead, he got the missile. I screwed up. But even with that huge mess up, and now I'm actually boosting because I have the money for it. One of my pit bulls, try to get over there. Doing what I can to try to take out another harvester, take out his tanks. I'm keeping his attention on his harvester at all times. And look at this. He saw that I pumped out that bigger air unit, that 50-point cost one, and that 30-point guy. He spent 100 points on that thing. What am I going to take it out with? A 20-point rocket squad. Just watch this. And he builds a second one. I don't even have air right now. That was stupid. So yeah, I'm just focusing on infantry and pit bulls. There's really not much he can do right now. He's trying to neutralize it, but too late. Too little, too late. And even still, my rocket squads were about to win on the bottom right. I was going to push some over to where his harvester was trying to defend a point. I had rocket squads at the other point. He needed some... I just won with rocket squads, essentially. Well, I said my riflemen and rocket squads pushing forward, the only thing they have to fear is the flamers or disruptors early game. And, ooh, look, Epic Crate. Let's go ahead and open this war at it. Then the dogs, the attack dogs, deal with flamers for 10 points. And then I just have to worry about protecting the dogs from vehicles, which would usually be pit bulls and attack bikes. And I've got my rocket squads and my pit bulls to deal with those. And if he brings out an actual tank, that's a lot of money compared to what I'm pumping out. But yeah, that's why I have a little more difficulties. But I still have the pit bulls, which in mass can have stuff, and the rocket squads, so. But I just spam tons of units. You saw I was all over the place, and because I've got so many units, and the pressure's on so quickly that I could launch that first missile, and he's just, he's fighting over his harvester, and I'm getting the first missile. On top of I'm making his economy harder for him to deal with. He's fighting with less money than what he's used to be able to fight with, and he's fighting more troops than what he's used to fighting because I don't have a harvester. I honestly have yet to lose with that deck. It is a really, really good deck. But hopefully that's something they will fix, because they keep updating the game and breaking it. You'll never drop below your league. Now we make it to where every season you drop below your league. Now you got high level people constantly fighting low level people. That's not fair for them. A lot of you guys, you know what I'm talking about. You're fighting some really skilled players probably in the lower leagues who have been or need to be in the Tiberium leagues. And instead they're dropping... I was a silver. Look at this. Look at my nut. I was Tiberium League. And it dropped me to Diamond 1. My GDI already went back up to, Masters League. And I'll be at Tiberium League again, I'm sure, by the end of the month. But it's not fair. And honestly, it's not as fun for me if I've got to fight these really low-level people who don't know how to play. It's not good for anyone. And I really think they should not have made it to where you could drop leagues. I think this harvester thing they did, it's good for the 2 harvesters to a point, but it only makes them 2 good. And it's definitely good for people who want to run no harvesters, which is a huge, huge problem. And people who want to rush right now have the ability to rush very well, and I think that is a problem with the combination of Cyber Wheel and Giga Cannon. I also think the GDI Bomber is a little too overpowered at the moment, and as I mentioned before, the Avatar. Everything else, I think, is honestly pretty well balanced. Um, the Flamers and the Disruptors, I think they should cost either a little bit more or something, because I don't know, they're being played too often. I'm not saying they're overpowered. They're just too useful is not the right word, but as defensive as they are, you could use it to hold a point and win a missile when it's up against something that it has no chance of defeating, like a tank or an air unit. They could trash a base, and it trashes infantry. And when you have the situation where you can have one unit essentially win you the game against everything, that's not right. Um, and you see a lot of players using them for multiple reasons, but mostly as an anti-infantry because they deal with the late game infantry, and that's what they're supposed to do, is deal with infantry. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I think they should kill infantry faster and die faster. So they do their job, but they don't do other jobs that they're not supposed to do. If you have a tanky unit, it should cost more than 40 points. And I've just seen people build like 4 or 5 of those and come run at me, and I'm like, I'm fighting with air units against units that can't even fight air, and I can't do anything about them. I don't know. Or maybe they should buff snipers for GDI to be able to deal with them faster. I don't know. And I still don't see anything like the drone ships that Nod has, the air little 20-point guys, on GDI's side. They don't have anything until that 50-point, to deal with ground. That's pretty expensive comparing a 20 to a 50. I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of balance issues in the game. Right now, the game is broken in a few ways, I feel. It's still overall balanced. I think they're doing a good job, but I don't like some of the changes. And this new meta, it's good for people who like double harvesters, it's good for people who like no harvesters, but it's really, really difficult now to run a one harvester build, which should be the meta, you should be able to run 2 harvesters. I think running 2 harvesters as a meta should be a good thing. You should be able to run 2, you should be able to run 1, and you should have a difficult time running 0. It shouldn't be easier to run 0 than it is to run 1 harvester. Anyway, that's enough of my ranting. Hope you all enjoyed my videos. See how the clan's doing. And I'll see you all next time. But before I end this, yeah, there's lag on things a lot too lately. There we go. Maybe we could see one of their videos. Oh yeah, there's some Tiberium Lake ones. See, I was in the Tiberium Lake before. I'm not joking. Yeah, I think I'll just call it. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Take care now. Hope you all enjoyed.